Sonic, you've had your ups and downs, mostly downs after the Dreamcast era, but in recent years you've gotten a few good games, like the excellent Sonic Mania, for example. However, this video may still piss off certain parts of the Sonic fandom. Huh. Can I help you?
Sonic, white Sonic, white Sonic, white Sonic, white Sonic, white Sonic!
Oh. Okay. Who gave the Sonic fans my address? But anyway, I said this the last time I did a review, but let's dive into Sonic Forces. The game opens up with Eggman speaking about how he hates Sonic for all the times he had defeated him, but boasts about his newest creation, and that he's positive that he'll beat Sonic this time and expand his empire, plus taking over the world. Hey, Dr. Robotnik or Eggman, whatever Sega wants to call you nowadays, you always say that you're gonna, destroy the world or kill Sonic or whatever, but it always blows up in your face. Might I suggest a new hobby? The scene ends with a close-up on the new bad guy of this game, known as Infinite. Anyway, our first stage is in Green Hill, because we can't get enough of that nostalgia, no matter how many times that stage has been rehashed. As Tails and a bunch of generic-looking avatars were about to get attacked by Eggman's robots, Sonic swoops in and destroys the robots. As he confronts Eggman, some familiar faces pop in, as we now see Shadow, even though he hasn't really been a villain since the ending of Sonic Adventure 2, Chaos, Metal Sonic, and that one dude from Sonic the Hedgehog Galaxy. I mean Sonic Lost World. Alright, you know what? I was not interested in playing Sonic Lost World, because it looked kind of, meh. So, I am not familiar with this Zavok character. And then our new character, Infinite, comes in. Sonic tries his best to fight these guys off, but it's 5 against 1, so he easily gets his ass kicked. And then one of my issues with this game's story shows up. We're told that stuff happens, but they don't exactly show it. For example, here we get some text telling us that Eggman has taken over the world, but we don't actually see it happen. But a resistance was formed by a bunch of anthropomorphic animals. Wait a minute. That plot sounds familiar. So Sonic Team, I hear you guys like that Sonic SatAM cartoon from the early 90s. Anyway, Sonic's friends pretty much assume that Sonic is dead, and we're told that Tails went crazy. Silver's comment about Tails is something I'm going to bring up later. It gets mentioned that a new guy is joining the Resistance, and then the moment we've all been waiting for, every Sonic fan on DeviantArt's dream comes true. You can now make your own Sonic OC in an official Sonic game. Which is a cool idea on paper, I've got to admit, but the execution is a bit underwhelming, as you've got some pretty basic customizations for your avatar. On top of that, you can't put any accessories on until after you do the first stage as the avatar. Anyway, you can choose the gender and species for your avatar. Your choices are a dog, a wolf, a rabbit, a cat, a bird, or another hedgehog. Despite the fact that we have 4, well, 5 if you count Classic Sonic as a separate character. I happen to be a dog person, and Sonic has 2 cat allies already, one of them being a piece of shit, and has yet to befriend a dog in this series to my knowledge. After you finish, Knuckles introduces our OC to the other characters, and hands him/her our Wisp Gun, more on that in a bit. Through dialogue, the cast learns that Sonic is alive. Not so much of a surprise to the audience, because it's obvious they're not going to kill off the main character, unless he could get revived by locking lips with a human princess, but we don't talk about that. Remember when I said the story does a whole lot of tell and not show? This is exactly what I'm talking about, because Knuckles informs us that Sonic is not only alive and taken hostage, but we're also told that he's been tortured for months. They don't exactly show him getting tortured. I know that this is a kid's game and all, but you could have done something like Eggman's robots, using some sort of energy beam to use on Sonic. Anyway, the Avatar will go through his or her first stage, and then we take a shuttle to a rebuilt Death Egg. But screw the story for now, we can now put on accessories for our character. Plus, with the DLC, we have costumes based on other Sega properties and Persona 5. Now I dressed my avatar like Joker from Persona 5, so now I can pretend that I'm playing something that's better, and because I'm so original, I'm gonna call him Joker the Dog. We then see Tails trying to fix Omega. Were we supposed to know about him shutting down? Because we didn't exactly see him until this point. And we see Tails not really acting crazy in any way, shape, or form. He's just trying to fix a robot. Silver, you're a goddamn liar! But I mostly blame the writers because the story is full of inconsistencies. As Tails was about to get attacked by Chaos, Classic Sonic comes in to save his ass. And on that note, Classic Sonic isn't in any way, shape, or form important to the story. He's just kinda there to give us another form of gameplay, and for some reason ties forces to Mania. It's as if Sega knows that Sonic Mania is a much better game, and they're saying, don't play this, play Sonic Mania instead.
What? Oh, you're that Sonic from another dimension, aren't you?
Wait. Another dimension? It's been a while since I played Sonic Generations and all, but if I recall correctly, they said Classic Sonic came from the past. Where did this other dimension shit come from? Once we reach the Death Egg, we finally see Sonic before fighting the Zavok character in a boss fight. And for someone who has supposedly been tortured for months, he sure likes to crack some jokes and be his usual smartass self. I don't expect him to be pissed off and edgy or anything, I mean we have Shadow for that. But imagine in Jak 2, when Daxter released Jak from prison, and instead of talking about killing Praxis, he makes wisecracking jokes and says funny shit. That would make the torture to be a lot less believable. Huh. Hello?
Oh hey Nightman, I was just checking in on you since I heard that you were working on your next review. How's Jak 2 coming along?
Oh, that's a good joke there, Zero.
Well, I guess you can't make fun of me for tough enough anymore, bitch.
Huh. I guess he was still mad about that one little thing from a long time ago. Anyway, Sonic is now out of enemies' hands, and catches up to Joker, and they make their escape. Now that Sonic is back, Knuckles informs us that Eggman has built a weapons factory, and both Sonic and Joker have to go down and destroy the place. After doing so, we find out that Silver is fighting Infinite. One stage later, Sonic catches up for another go with him, and it leads to a pretty decent boss fight. Anyway, we learned that Infinite and Eggman have been using the plot MacGuffin the Phantom Ruby to take over. Because we need more connections to a better game, I guess. Tails learns that Sonic is alive from Eggman and Infinite's conversation, and the Resistance gives Joker the mission to rescue some civilians.
It's been generations since I seen you. You okay?
Ha! Tails informs everyone that Eggman has a world destruction plan in 3 days. Sonic goes after Shadow, and here I was expecting a boss fight, maybe something reminiscent of Sonic Adventure 2, but instead, spoiler alert, all we get is a cutscene. And then we find out that it was merely a clone of Shadow, as Sonic was getting saved by the real one.
Well, that was a load of shit.
Essentially, they're not fighting the real characters from those past games, just a bunch of copies of them. And Jesus Christ, even for Sonic standards, this has to be the lamest plot twist I've ever seen. On top of that, where the fuck was Shadow during most of the game then? And why was he in hiding? This game sure as hell won't explain that. Anyway, while Sonic is busy, we get another Avatar mission where we attack Eggman's headquarters. Joker comes across Infinite while being afraid, but imagine Sonic motivating him, and then he goes on to do another Infinite boss fight. Infinite recognizes Joker as someone who ran away while he was attacking the city. Before Infinite can kill Joker, good old Plot MacGuffin activates. Even though Joker can use the Phantom Ruby, Infinite is confident that he won't be able to stop him within 2 days. After going through Chemical Plant, Tails and OG Sonic find the information about the Phantom Ruby, and how it can create a new reality. Meanwhile, Metal Sonic attacks the city, which only amounts to a boss fight just to pad the game out and nothing more. Tails informs the group that the Death Egg powers up the Phantom Ruby, and it's up to Joker to distract Eggman, while they hack into the Death Egg's weapons so they can cut off any power to the Ruby. And Joker is way too excited for the mission. While Joker does the distraction, Modern Sonic will be at the chemical plant to get to the computers and shut the weapons down. OG Sonic will be at the Death Egg for the purpose of destroying it. With the Death Egg destroyed and the Phantom Ruby weakened, Eggman and Infinite make a retreat. But Sonic and the gang can't allow them to go about freely. As Sonic catches up to Eggman, Infinite comes in and summons a vortex. The vortex sucks Sonic in, and Joker comes out of nowhere to attempt a rescue, only to be sucked in with him. As it turns out, the Ruby's power is still active, as Eggman has a backup source.
Since you always destroy the power source of my weapons, I decided to learn from my mistakes. I had a backup power source created under Metropolis.
A smart plan, Doctor, but you're also a fucking moron because you just told Tails where it is. Anyway, Sonic and Joker were able to escape the null space, just by boosting and the power of teamwork. That's a pretty lazy way to handle some writing there, Sonic Team, and it makes absolutely no sense. Anyway, Sonic, his friends, and a bunch of generic-looking avatars go on the attack on Eggman's base, finding a bunch of clones and Infinite. Before Infinite can finish off Sonic and his friends, Omega comes in shooting at Infinite and joins the fight. Infinite then proceeds to using his power to have the sun crash on the planet to kill everyone. Tails points out to Joker that the prototypes of the Phantom Ruby have been activated by his courage and heroism and all that cliche stuff. With the Ruby's prototype power, Joker was able to stop the sun from falling. We then go on to have one last fight against Infinite. After the fight, Sonic tells Infinite that he lacked the power of friendship and teamwork, and whatnot, and he retreats, and never to be seen for the rest of the game. That's a very lame and underwhelming way to send off a character. But then Eggman lets us know that the game isn't over yet, and we still have to take care of the reactor core that's being powered by the Ruby. Eggman comes back with the Death Egg robot. The final boss fight has 3 phases, with the final phase having you controlling both Sonics and your avatar. Wait, controlling 3 characters at once? What is this, Sonic Heroes? Anyway, Eggman is defeated until the next Sonic game comes out. Classic Sonic and Tails have a farewell scene before Classic leaves to star in an update to a vastly superior game, and then bad ending credit music plays. But wait, there's an after credit scene of Joker telling the Resistance that he's leaving, because there's no way a blank slate avatar is going to carry over into a later game, and him and Sonic go their separate ways at the end. Anyway, I've harped on the story long enough, but gameplay is a mixed bag, sadly. Modern Sonic has the best stages, I'd say, as he plays just about the same as he did in Unleashed, Colors, and Generations, as he still has his boosts that builds up from defeating enemies and grabbing wisps, because for some reason those are still around. And he still has his homing attack, which is pretty useful in a lot of situations, as with most of the 3D Sonic games. Once you get to the 2D sections of Modern Sonic's levels, however, you have to be very precise with the platforming, and that's due to a little bit of a control issue. Your custom avatar plays pretty similar to Modern Sonic, but with a few of his own gimmicks. He uses a grappling hook like Batman that can get you to higher platforms in certain areas. It can also be used in a similar fashion to Sonic's homing attack. Each species for your avatar is given their own abilities. For example, the rabbit having an extended invincibility duration, and the bird can perform a double jump, etc. On top of that, the avatar also has a wisp gun on hand. Depending on what type of wisp gun you have equipped, you could use it like a flamethrower, which is what I stuck with, an electric whip, blocks, etc. Also, depending on what wisp gun you have, if you collect any certain wisp, you can use certain abilities to grab some rings that are otherwise too high to grab, just by pressing the triangle button. Unfortunately, you can only use the wisp that corresponds with your gun of choice, so you'd have to experiment with all the wisp guns if you want to switch any wisp abilities, which is very cumbersome. Modern Sonic and the Avatar even have stages where you control both, which plays out the same as their respective solo missions. However, there are times when they have to do a double boost by tapping the square button when prompted to do so, as they would be plowing through enemies for a brief period of time. Also, I hope you like the song Fist Bump from the game's soundtrack, because you're gonna hear it every time. My issue with the double boost, however, is that there is no real consequence by not tapping square at the start. Because what will happen is that Sonic and the Avatar will just have this goofy looking animation of them almost tripping, but then they will just regain their footing and boost anyway. And then we have Classic Sonic. And boy, they somehow fucked this one up. At times, you need to be very precise with Classic Sonic's platforming, as his controls feel very loose. Not only that, but his stages are very dull compared to the other two. The levels in general leave a lot to be desired. The levels start out okay, and then when they start to get really good and more exciting stuff happens, they just end. In other words, they're way too short. Plus, they did away with the live system, so now you don't have to worry about a game over, which I feel that takes away some of the challenge. There's also the episode Shadow DLC containing 3 levels for Shadow, who basically plays like modern Sonic. It explains why Infinite wears the mask, you know, if you give a shit. And the dude was pissed off at Shadow, but too bad Shadow doesn't do much in the main story. If there's anything positive I could say, is that the game's graphics are very bright and well detailed, and the game runs at a solid 60 frames per second. And another thing I'll give to this game is that it's not an unplayable glitchy mess, unlike certain other entries in this series. The music is also kind of a mixed bag in my opinion. Some stages have some catchy music, but others are pretty forgettable. And don't even get me started on that ending song, because that one is bad. And even though Fist Bump is overplayed as hell in this game, I do find the song itself very energetic and catchy. Overall, I'd say this game isn't very good, but the Hedgehog has definitely been in much, much worse games. Sonic Forces doesn't reach Sonic Boom or Sonic 06 levels of bad, because at least you're not glitching through the levels here. But with a story that's all over the place and some pretty bad control issues here and there, I'd say your money is better spent elsewhere. And that's why I give Sonic Forces a 5 out of 10. Now, if you excuse me, I'd better go barricade my door and windows because I got a bunch of angry Sonic fans right outside. See you later, everyone.
Together we can show the world what we can do. You are next to me and I'm next to you. Push me on through until the past